Is this the biggest mistake ever heading into a World Cup? Morocco have just fired their manager Walid Regragui less than 100 days before the 2026 World Cup. And in my opinion, this is a crazy decision. Is it a good decision? Is it a bad decision? I honestly have no clue. And this is a topic that a lot of people have been talking about before this 2026 World Cup, is the managers of these national teams. Obviously, there's a lot of new managers. If you look at England with Thomas Tuchel, if you look at Belgium with Rudi Garcia, these are big teams with managers who haven't been managing them for too long. And there's also a lot of talk about managers who could possibly be fired. There's a lot of talk about Walid Regragui after the AFCON. There's been a lot of talk about Bielsa with Uruguay. And no one really has a definitive answer if it is a good decision to fire the manager within 100 days before the World Cup. But in my opinion, there's no way that can be a good decision. There's no way. You look at Walid Regragui with Morocco. He's been managing them since the 2022 World Cup. The 2022 World Cup was his first major tournament. And funny enough, the manager before him was fired just a few months before the 2022 World Cup. And it turned out good because Morocco in that World Cup were incredible. We saw them beat Spain in the round of 16. They beat Portugal in the quarterfinals, and they made it to the semifinals, which is incredible. That was an incredible World Cup by Morocco. They were absolutely fantastic. And then if we look into the AFCONs, if we look at the 2023 AFCON, yes, Morocco weren't as good. They got knocked out in the round of 16 from South Africa. But in my opinion, I don't think that was Walid Regragui's fault. I feel like some of the players let him down. Obviously, Hakimi missed the penalty in that game, which could have tied up the game. And now if we move forward to the last AFCON, the 2025 AFCON, Morocco made it to the final. Now, obviously, they were hosting the AFCON, and there was a lot of pressure being put on them to win that AFCON. Now, yes, they did make it to the final and they ended up losing in the final against Senegal. But once again, what's the reason they lost? In my opinion, not due to Walid Regragui, but due to Brahim Diaz missing that penalty in the last minute. If he would have scored that penalty, Morocco would have won. And I feel like Walid Regragui leaving Morocco, I don't know the full situation, whether he was sacked, whether he left, I don't really know what it is. But there was a lot of people that wanted him gone. There was a lot of people in the Moroccan Federation that wanted him gone. There was a lot of journalists that wanted him gone. And there was a lot of fans that wanted him gone, mainly due to his play style. Obviously, he always played a more defensive style of football. And he never really had the best tactics per se. But you cannot discredit what he did with this Moroccan team, because what he did in the 2022 World Cup, having only a few months of practicing with the team before that World Cup, what he did in both AFCONs. Yes, I know in the 2023, he didn't make it as far as he should have, but he, I think, was a great manager for this Moroccan team. And the way he got Morocco to play defensively really benefited them in international competitions, in the World Cup, in the AFCON, in big competitions. When you're coming up against the top teams, playing defensively is what wins you games. Defense wins you games, especially in these international competitions. Now, yes, it may hurt them against some smaller teams. Obviously, in this AFCON, in the group stage, we saw them struggle a little bit. Against Tanzania, they struggled, and that was a team which realistically they probably could have won 3 or 4-0. But at the same time, he still won the game. They still got over the line playing that defensive style. In the 2025 AFCON, they kept a clean sheet in almost every single game they played. The only game which they didn't keep a clean sheet in, other than the final, was that game against Mali where they drew 1-1. But the goal was scored from Seneyoko from a penalty. It wasn't even from open play. Throughout the whole tournament before the final match, Morocco did not concede a goal from open play. That's how they made it to the final in this AFCON, and that's also how they made it to the semifinals in the last World Cup, by keeping a clean sheet against Spain, by keeping a clean sheet against Portugal. And that's what Walid Regragui was good at, was keeping the clean sheets. The way that he brought this team together after being hired only a few months before the 2022 World Cup, the way he got his team to play with such better chemistry. He was definitely a great coach with the players. And I feel like the fact that he left less than 100 days before the 2026 World Cup, I don't know if it's going to work out for Morocco. I was placing Morocco in my World Cup ranking videos. I put Morocco in contenders. I think Morocco are a top 8 team in the world, and they're ranked 8th place by FIFA. They're a top 10 team in the world. In my opinion, in Africa, between them and Senegal is very, very close, but they're definitely arguably the best or the second best team. And in the world, like I already mentioned, I think they're a top 10 team. In this World Cup, I put them as contenders. I put them as at least getting to the quarterfinals, and they could possibly have another semifinal run. But after their manager leaving, and now they have to start over with the new manager who has to build chemistry with these players within 100 days before the World Cup. It's just not going to work out. The chance of this working out with the new manager, who looks like it will be Mohamed Ouabi, are very, very low. This decision is absolutely ridiculous. And like I said, there's been so much talk about many different managers going into this World Cup. But the fact that we actually see action with Morocco, with Walid Regragui leaving, is crazy. It's crazy. I have no idea how Morocco are going to perform in this World Cup. And I do feel like, yes, the reports say that he left, but I feel like there was a lot of pressure from the fans, from the journalists, from the FA for him to leave. Obviously, in the AFCON, Morocco had so much pressure on them. And I do feel like Moroccan fans do put a lot of pressure on their team. I feel like they hold their team to a very, very high standard. And they have a right to do so because Morocco are a very good team. But they can't expect them to just magically win trophies. You can't, going into the 2025 AFCON, you can't just say Morocco need to win this. Because realistically, it's a tournament. And in tournaments, anything can happen. You can't go into a tournament saying that this country needs to 100% win, because that puts a lot of pressure on the players. It puts a lot of pressure on the manager. And if they don't get that final result, then things like this can happen. And like I said, we've been hearing so much talk about many other managers from many different countries before this World Cup, but having the manager actually leave is crazy. And for me, I think this will negatively affect Morocco. I think Mohamed Ouabi is a good manager. Obviously, he won the Under-20 World Cup with Morocco, which is absolutely crazy. And Morocco's youth system is incredible. They have so many good youth players. In my opinion, they may have some of the best youth players in the world. If you look at some of their young talent, we see some of their players playing in Italy. We see players in France. We see so many Moroccan players in the top 5 leagues. And even in leagues like the Eredivisie, like the Belgian Pro League, we see so many Moroccan talent. And with Mohamed Ouabi, I do think in the future, he can get this Moroccan team to play some very, very good football. And I do think going into the next AFCON, he could possibly win it with Morocco. But at the same time, letting Walid Regragui leave under 100 days before the 2026 World Cup, I don't think that Mohamed Ouabi is going to be able to turn this team around in time for the World Cup. And for that reason, I don't think Morocco are going to have that good of a tournament. I wish Morocco the best of luck because I love Morocco. I want Morocco to succeed in the World Cup. But I feel like this was really surprising. And I feel like if any other countries are thinking of sacking their national team manager or letting them leave, I feel like at this point, it's 100% not worth it. If you look back to a couple months ago, sure. But now we're within a couple months of the World Cup. We're within 100 days of the start of the World Cup. And now Morocco, main manager for the last 4 years, has left them. And now they will have to hire a new manager. And will he do well? I'm not so sure. And even though Walid Regragui didn't have the best style of play, yes, he may have struggled against some of the smaller teams that realistically Morocco should be beating. But since he's been with Morocco, I think he's been a really, really good manager. He had the chemistry with his players. And on top of that, they performed incredibly in the last World Cup, in the last AFCON. They were really good. And playing defensively isn't a bad thing because in these international competitions, the national team managers don't have a lot of time to work with their players. They may have a few friendlies here and there every couple months, but that's pretty much it. Then next thing you know, a major tournament is around the corner and you have to decide how you're going to play. And playing defensively was a great way to play for Morocco, because a lot of people saw Morocco and they say they have a great attack with Brahim Diaz, with El Kabi, with El Zuli, but defensively, I feel like a lot of people slept on them. But then looking at them in this AFCON, they were the best team defensively in this AFCON, and I feel like bringing that defense to the World Cup, they could possibly make another deep run. But now, obviously, a lot of things are going to change. And for me, I just don't think Morocco are going to have as good as a World Cup with their new manager as they would have if they still had Walid Regragui. But that's the end of this video. I just had to talk about this because when I saw this news this morning, I was shocked. I did not expect it at all. I know he said that if he didn't win the AFCON, he would resign, but it's been a couple months and he was still there. So I didn't expect this news coming less than 100 days before the World Cup. But with that being said, I had to talk about it and let you guys know my opinion. But remember to leave your comments and your opinions in the comments down below, because I want to hear what you guys have to say and what you think of the Moroccan national team coach leaving the national team. But that's the end of the video. Remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.